right, Jules.
What?
We're going live.
Alright, I'm going to carry on with my daily activities like laundry and chores.
Good. And we're live. What's up, everybody?
How's it going today?
I'm here with the great Sean Chua, the other Sean Patrick in the gym.
The Sean Patrick in the gym.
There are two of us. So, you were once the strongest man in DC.
You're bringing up some hard times here. Yes, I was, and still currently am, I think, in the 74 kilogram squat. I still hold that record, I think.
You squatted 74 kilograms?
Yeah, I've done that, but I weigh 74 kilograms, and I squatted, I think, 425 in that competition. So, yeah, that was a good day for me.
That's pretty sweet. And that's your PR, 425?
No, my PR is 463.
What?
That was when I was competing in the 83 kilograms, so about 183 pounds. But
Wait,
yeah.
your body weight changed your PR that much?
Yeah, so when I competed at 183, I always, for powerlifting, I always weighed somewhere around 174 or so. So I was kind of in between the 163 pound weight class and the 183 pound weight class. And I just didn't want to cut weight. So I just always competed at 183. And then one day I was like, oh, I weigh 170 because I've been running now. So I was like, I can cut a few pounds. And thankfully, because I eat the same thing every day, that was pretty easy to do. I just cut back the brown rice a little bit and presto, done.
Done.
Yeah.
What do you eat every day?
Oh gosh. So for the last 5 or 6 years or so, I do crock pot chicken, chicken thigh, of course.
Oh, just the chicken thighs?
Yep.
No, okay.
And a jar of salsa.
Bone in or no?
Oh, no bone.
Just boneless, skinless?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jar of salsa in there, and just leave it there for like 10 hours. And then I'll do brown rice and broccoli in there. And I'll have that for lunch. I've had that for lunch like 5 days a week for the past 5 or 6 years.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So pretty easy for me to monitor my weight.
Yeah. So how'd you get into powerlifting?
I guess it starts back with how did I even get into CrossFit and fitness in general?
It's a better question, probably.
Yeah, I wasn't into fitness growing up, so it was in college where I had this crazy idea that I was like, I'm gonna join the Marines, and so I started training for Marine Corps Officer School, which their test is, 20 pull-ups, an 18-minute 3-mile run, and 100 sit-ups or 100 crunches in 2 hours or 2 minutes.
2 hours.
Yeah, 2 hours.
Well, that's to max it.
Yeah. Yep, that's to max it. So I just started training for that. Started eating a bit more.
This was in college?
Yeah, this was in college.
Interesting.
Yeah, so this was back in 2010.
And did you do any fitness stuff before that?
Not really. I mean, I would go to the gym, have chest day, arm day, but I wasn't really seeing any good gains.
Mm-hmm.
And
did you play sports growing up?
Not really.
Mm.
I mean, I dabbled in track and field. I played a little volleyball.
Okay.
But no, I never played on any high school team or anything.
Okay.
I played paintball on a sponsored team in high school, but that's about as far as my athletic abilities went.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So you started training for this Marine Corps thing.
Yep. So I think out of 300 points, the possible 300 points you could get, I got up to 289, which is pretty good qualifier for Marine Corps Officer School. And then March came along, and I got a job offer from IBM. So no more Marines for me. The Marine Officer School wasn't really recruiting heavily at the time, so it was either have a chance at that in October or take this guaranteed good salary as soon as I graduate. So I joined IBM. But I wanted to stick with the fitness routine, so I started running I started training for a marathon. I did that, and then I was like, I'm tired of being skinny at like 140 pounds. I'm just gonna eat a ton and lift a ton and get muscle. So yeah, I think that happened in like 2013 or 2014, where I was just doing like a 5x5 and Jim Wendler's 5-3-1 program for a while, and just eating everything in sight. And probably within like 5 or 6 months, I gained
Holy cow.
20 or 30 pounds. A lot of that was probably fat, but then it toned out after a while.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay, so you started just doing the strength stuff, and then
Yep.
and then how did you stumble across CrossFit?
Well, Old City CrossFit was opening up right down the street, and they had a great introductory offer. So started working out with Old City CrossFit in the park.
Oh, that's right. I didn't realize. I had forgotten that you were a park member.
Yeah,
There's a few park members still hanging around.
an OG Old City park member. And yeah, when the gym opened up, you know, I had already expressed interest to you guys that I wanted to be a coach.
Yeah.
And yeah, a year later, or a few months later, I became a coach. But then a year later, I was like, been doing CrossFit for a little while, want to get a little more competitive. I've been pretty strong, like my numbers comparatively are pretty strong for powerlifting.
Right.
I'm gonna sign up for a meet, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just got on a powerlifting program, did that, and you know, all the local competitions I've done, I've gotten a medal in, which is pretty cool. You know, there's usually like 7 or 8 people in your weight class.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like pretty small community, but it's still fun to get out there and compete. And then I went to powerlifting nationals one year.
Yeah.
I qualified for that in Pennsylvania, and I got to finish like right in the middle of the pack, so I could say I am the most average national powerlifter. I think I finished actually 32nd out of like 65 people.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, walk me through a powerlifting meet. I went out. I think I watched one of your meets.
Yeah.
I forget which one it was. But anyway, walk me through like how does it work? How do you?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
What is powerlifting, Sean?
Yeah. So powerlifting is the back squat, bench, and deadlift, and you do the lifts in that order. So the way a powerlifting meet works is you'll weigh in about 2 hours before the meet, and then about 30 minutes to an hour before you start warming up, start putting weight on the bar. And then each athlete gets 3 attempts at each of those lifts. So you'll start off, they'll load up the bar and say, or you put in your first attempt, and you always want to hit your first attempt. So you put in like something easy, like your 3 rep max number. Something you know you'll hit on any given day, just to get that confidence boost.
Yeah.
And then after your first attempt of squat, everyone else goes. You probably have like a 10-minute break or so, and then you get to put in your second attempt and third attempt. So you do all 3 attempts of your squat, and then move on to all 3 attempts of your bench.
And then they take your highest performance, or they take your total of all 3?
They take your total of all 3.
So they take your highest squat, your
Yep.
highest bench, and your highest deadlift, and then that's your score.
Yep, that's your score. And there is some competitions that have like best deadlift and best bench, or sometimes they do a push-pull, which is bench and deadlift. They've never had like a squat-only competition, which I'm pretty upset about because I love squatting.
Squat's your best out of the 3?
Squat and deadlift are definitely my best of the 3. The bench has always kind of lagged behind.
Yeah, why do you think that is?
You just gotta have like a big chest and short arms. I'm very tall for my weight class. Yeah, at 5'8", 183, you don't think that'd be like too tall, but yeah, the people you're competing against sometimes are like 5'4", 5'5", so they don't have to push the bar as far.
Oh, I see.
They do have to. They do have trouble with deadlifts though, because they have shorter arms, so they have to pull the bar a little further.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Huh. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, so you did the powerlifting thing, and then what came after powerlifting?
Then I did a triathlon thing for
That's
a little
right.
while.
Okay.
Yeah, triathlon. I just wanted to get back to my cardio roots. While I was powerlifting, you know, you sacrifice a lot of cardio. All
Yeah.
I was doing was lifting.
Right.
So there was a point where I think I tried to run a mile, and I was like, can't do that.
Right.
Need to fix that. Hey, never done a triathlon. Let's try that. So I joined Old City Swim Wad because I didn't really know how to swim.
What?
Yeah, shout out. This is not an advertisement, but shout out to Old City Swim Wad. Yeah, so I
DC's best swimming institution for adult learning to swim.
Yeah, it really did help me learn how to swim.
Really?
Because I mean, I knew how to like get around, and I wouldn't drown, but swimming laps, I could maybe make it back and forth once, and then just be out of breath when I
Yeah.
started.
Yeah, I mean, swimming is. I grew up a swimmer, obviously. Well, maybe it's not
Yeah.
obvious to people who are just listening, but I swam my whole life, all through college, and I could get in the water today without having swam in years and years and years, and out swim the vast majority of people because it's such a technical sport, right?
Yep.
Like, there's so much technique in this in the water that can basically carry you the whole way. You know, the
Yep.
vast majority of people who are training for triathlons, my opinion, their time needs to be spent working on technique in the water because they're going to develop their cardiovascular base by doing the running and the biking anyway. And
Yeah.
all you need is to get out of the water not that tired, and you'll do okay in the triathlons. So that's cool. So you learned swimming with us.
Yes.
Nice.
Biking, you know, anyone can ride a bike, so that wasn't too bad. And having to train for the run again, I definitely sacrificed some strength there. My squat probably went from 463 to about 405, maybe high 300s, which is still good for me, but you sacrifice some strength there, and my running was not as good as it was when I was 40 pounds lighter.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I did triathlon. I did an Olympic distance triathlon where I actually didn't finish the swim.
Yeah.
They pulled me out because I went too off course too many times.
Yeah. Sighting, because it was open water in a lake.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
open water in a lake.
Yeah, sighting is tough for that. It's another level that when you only swim in a pool, it's hard to teach, and it's hard to like get the gravity of swimming in a lake.
Yeah.
You know, but that sucks.
Yeah, I think also it was just, I mean, you don't get this in a pool where people are kicking your face and you have like 30 people around you all trying to swim. So, yeah, but I wanted some redemption.
Yes.
So I did an Olympic distance triathlon, which is, about a mile swim, 26-mile bike ride, and a 6.2 mile run.
Right.
So then I was like, okay, didn't finish that, might as well go up to the next thing. So I signed up for a half Ironman, which the swim is only a little bit longer. The bike ride's 56 miles, I think, and the run is a half marathon.
Yeah.
In this one, I hurt my foot beforehand, so I couldn't do the run, but I swam a little more, I trained more, I felt more prepared for that.
Yeah.
The bike is, that's fine, that's time on the bike.
Right.
And I was able to finish the swim and bike portion of my half
That's pretty
Ironman.
sweet.
Yeah, they call it an aqua bike.
An aqua bike.
Yeah.
that's pretty.
So
great.
I got my redemption, and
Yeah.
I'm never going in open water swimming again.
No, you're done.
Yeah,
You're done.
that's it.
Wow. So you didn't overcome your dislike for it, so to speak,
No, still hate swimming,
Yeah.
but
but better at it.
yeah, I have an appreciation for people that are good at swimming and that
Yeah.
do it.
That's awesome.
And that's actually, it brings me to my next point. I think we talked about this the other week with one of our members. I was reading up about the Patagonia CEO, and he calls himself an 80%er.
Yeah.
And there's this whole concept out there of being an 80%er where you devote yourself to something so much. So for me, let's say powerlifting. I devoted myself to powerlifting so much I considered myself like about an 80% proficiency, maybe a little higher than that.
Yeah.
And at that point, you kind of get an understanding of what it takes to get to that top 1%. And you have so much more of an appreciation of what these people do at that high level. And that's not just for powerlifting, that's for like swimming, CrossFit. I've recently gotten into rock climbing now.
Yeah.
I don't consider myself 80% proficiency there yet.
Right.
But,
so do you think is the 80% just to gain an appreciation of what it takes to be elite in that thing, or do you think that spending some amount of time to acquire that 80% competency is just the most effective way to use your time?
I think you get to that 80% point after a certain amount of time. I wouldn't say it was like, example of powerlifting, I wouldn't say you only reach 80% proficiency when you qualify for nationals or something like that.
Right.
But yeah, sorry, I might have missed the question.
No. Yeah. So essentially, my question is, clearly you're all over the map in a really good way,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Like your fitness expanse goes from high level powerlifting to competing in triathlons to CrossFit and CrossFit coaching and rock climbing, and you're always dabbling in these little things, and like I'm always interested in what motivates people and what drives people to do things.
Yeah.
to do things, period, end of sentence. And so the big question is that 80% goal, like, is that something that you look back and you're like, oh, that's what I do, or did you see that and go, oh, that's what I want to do?
I think that's something I definitely look back and say, oh, that's what I do.
Yeah.
For the most part, things start off with like, I'm pretty athletic now, so some activities I look at and I'm like, oh, I can use my current athleticism to do that and to have like a head start on most people. And then when I look back, I'm like, oh man, I got pretty decent at that. But to get to that next level is a whole different beast.
And so you kind of get motivated to learn something new, and then once you've sort of learned it, then you can sit back and assess if you want to invest that time and the effort to become even better at it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what motivates me to do it in the first place is just want to have fun.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for like different things to do, things to keep myself focused on an activity. And I like switching it up.
Yeah, does that activity, because the powerlifting, you quickly put like a meet on like a date, saying I'm training for this. With the triathlons, you put a date on it. You go, I'm training for this. I don't know if that's the case with the rock climbing stuff, but does there need to be that pressure of a competition at the end of it to motivate you, or is it just a convenient way to motivate you?
I think, when I was younger, back in my younger days, I would say that, yes, I definitely need a competition there to motivate me, something to train toward.
Yeah.
But now I'm much more comfortable with just kind of exercising. I know that we've talked before, and you've talked about on this podcast before, training versus exercising.
For sure.
And, I'm just very comfortable exercising right now with the level of exercise I'm doing. It's low stress for me.
Yeah.
I think putting that competition factor in, it can be stressful, which can be a good thing sometimes, but I think I put too much of that on myself over the last few years. So I'm just exercising right now.
Right. Well, I think you can. I think you can train, and I mean the line between training and exercise is always an interesting one, depending on who you talk to. But I think if you're like, exercising is like waking up and like going for a jog, right?
Mm-hmm.
Training is like wanting to get better at CrossFit, or training is wanting to get better at rock climbing.
Yep.
Just because you're not training at a high level, there's a difference between like starting a swim season and building up a base and tapering and doing all the things that you would do to go through a 9-month swim season. Like, that's intense training.
Yeah.
But swimming 3 times a week, you're still training.
Yeah.
As long as you're, I don't know. I guess it's the difference between just wanting to get fit, regardless of what that looks like,
Yeah.
or wanting to learn a new skill.
Yep. Yeah, and for me, training I've always considered training when you actually have a set plan of like days where you're gonna do this, days where you're gonna do
I
that.
see that. Okay.
And exercising is like, I feel like rock climbing instead of going to CrossFit today.
Right.
And I'm still, exercising or going to the gym 5-6 days a week,
Right.
which I know some people would consider like intense training, but for me it's just like exercising. I'm doing what I want to do.
Right. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense right there. Yeah. So you're just kind of downshifting from the stress and the pressure of the competition side of things, and then you're just kind of enjoying fitness.
Yeah.
Sounds like.
Yeah.
Just doing what you want to do on a daily basis, but still moving in a direction that's whatever, I don't know, positive or fun.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm still seeing like I still have my own little gym PRs, and I'm definitely working towards some things. Like I do have goals of improving my double unders with my weird wrist.
Yeah.
So I am definitely working towards some goals, but I'm not setting myself to you have to do this on this certain day or you're garbage.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I'm not putting that pressure on myself.
Yeah, and is that just based, it just comes in cycles where before you would put that pressure on and you needed it, and now it's kind of like, let me take a break from that, but then when I find that next thing that I want to do, then I'll put the pressure back on?
Yeah, and I think I still do, the most important thing that I've learned, and every coach will say this, the most important thing about anything is consistency.
Yeah.
So I want to improve my double unders. I don't have a set plan to do that, but I am still doing double unders, 3 or 4 times a week.
Right.
And I feel like I have enough experience to know, I didn't do enough double unders that week, or this is just the right amount.
Yeah. That consistency piece is so important.
Yeah.
We run a gym, like you coach at Old City, and that's the gym that this podcast is all about. And yeah, it's great. Jen Jacobs puts a ton of effort into the programming, and we put a lot of thought into the programming, and it's a really great program.
Yeah.
If you show up 3-4 times a week, you're going to get in great shape.
Yes.
But if you show up to any program 3 to 4 times a week, you're going to get in great shape.
Yep.
And so a large part of what we try to do at the gym is make it a place that you want to keep coming back to. Make it a positive place. Make it a positive experience, right? Because if I stand there and I yell at you and I make you feel like crap, I might have pushed you, 2% better that day. But if that causes you not to show up one day, then what difference does that 2% make?
Yeah.
And so I'm a big believer in this, like live to lift another day. If it's between like going a little heavier or going a little lighter, go a little lighter.
Yeah.
Like that 80% rule, I think, even applies to things like CrossFit. Like if you train at 80%, this is probably gonna get me yelled at by some people, but if you train at 80%, you're gonna be able to train more days.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I've started to adapt recently. Obviously CrossFit works because of high intensity, and you're supposed to push yourself to that high intensity every single day, and constantly varied functional movement, high intensity, 3 days on, 1 day off, over and over and over again. That's great. That works, right? But it also doesn't work when just the mental burden of that stops you from coming into the gym.
Yeah.
And so 2018 is the year of getting back on the wagon for me. And one of the things that I tell myself, and I've said this before, like I give myself permission to show up and not try, because I know for a fact that consistency is way more important than max effort every single time. If I'm in the gym 3 to 4 times a week, that's better than me not being in the gym, because I know my personality. If I show up, I'm going to work really hard, right? I may not work as hard, like 100%, but I'm gonna work 90, 95. Like I'm gonna be tired by the end of it. I'm gonna be covered in sweat. Like I'm gonna probably go RX. I don't know. I just think that so many people get psyched out by the mental challenges, people get psyched out on things that haven't happened. You create the worst case scenario in your head and like you dream about all the ways that this workout's going to be miserable, and then you just don't show up.
Yep. And that I love that. I don't know who said this, but it's paralysis through overanalysis.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you just think about something so much that you just don't end up doing it.
Yeah.
And for anything, I mean, for any of the hobbies that I picked up, you know, I did my research, you know, and then you kind of dig yourself into a rabbit hole. What's the best program? How am I going to get the best gains? What equipment should I buy? There's so many different brands.
Yeah.
What should I get? And then it's just one of those things, you just got to block all that out, pick something,
And do it.
do it. Yeah.
And just do it. And then you almost got to dive all in and explore it, you know, and then over time, you know, you start to get an understanding of what it is that you're doing, you know, like go all in on rock climbing, figure out what it means to be like a rock climber, you know, and there's some equipment that you need to get and things like that, but until you've been there pretty consistent, like I think there's the 80% where you know what it takes to be elite, and then there's like the 10 or 20% of knowledge that you know what it takes to get to that 80%.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, that's the game we're playing.
Yeah.
Okay, I see this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recently joined a jiu-jitsu gym, and it was my Sean Chua inspired self-improvement through fitness. And I had, you know, I listened to like a lot of Joe Rogan and Jocko Willink, and they're always talking about Brazilian jiu-jitsu and how awesome it is and all these things and whatever. But I was exactly what you were describing. I was so paralyzed by analysis that I would look at different gyms and I'd be like, oh, well, I don't know if I can make it to that one or the timing of this one. And then finally one day it was just like, you know what, screw it. I'm just gonna do it. And then I signed up for a year and that's it. I just started going. I just started going every single day. And the first 2 weeks kind of sucked because like you're the new guy, you don't know what's going on. You're like, well, it's so overwhelming. And then you start rolling with people, and then all they do is choke you out all the time. And then I don't know when things started to click, but after week 3, after week 4, after week 5, all of a sudden you're like, you start to see the game, right? And like, you see the move before you get choked out. You're like, oh, okay, well let me put my hand there and block the person from choking you. Or you see like the way that they grab your arm. You're like, oh, that's not happening today, buddy. And then, you know, week 6, week 7, eventually you're the one who's like setting people up, and then you start to tap people out. And now it's like, now the world is open, and now I see the path to the 80%. But that takes, you know, that takes 2 months.
Yep.
But then you see the people who are at that, you know, 100%. Like you catch the glimpse of a black belt, and you just look at the level that they know the game, and you're like, whoa!
I know nothing.
Seriously, nothing. And then you watch videos on YouTube, and then there's like black belts who are like, you know, the whole point of a black belt is so that you can start your jiu-jitsu education. Yeah. And they're sitting around saying that they know nothing, and you're like, oh, this is ridiculous. Yeah. But I think it's that idea of that 80%. You know, I think when you start something, it's the least amount of work for the most amount of results happen in that first 6 months to a year, maybe 2 years of studying anything, of dedicated practice towards something.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think you brought up a good point. Like, if you want to do something, you just have to make time for it. I mean, there's no other way. You can tell yourself excuses all day for an hour. Well, with that hour of making up excuses, you could have just gone. You know. Yeah. We have a 5 a.m. class. Those guys are troopers. You know, that might be the only time that they can work out during the day. They still come consistently during that time every day.
Yeah, you need the motivation to get out of the door and go show up. Like, you need the motivation to show up. And that's what I love about organized things. Like group fitness, like CrossFit, I think that's really great because you just need the motivation to show up to the gym. You don't necessarily need the motivation to grind out. Like if you're doing, a bro sesh and you're trying to get, chest and back, and you show up and you have 18 different things that you need to do, and each thing is a new motivation, or at least for someone as mentally weak as I am. Each thing is like, oh man, but then like once I get tired and I feel like I got a good workout, then I start rationalizing, well, I'm tired and I did more than I otherwise would have done, so this was a good day. Like you show up for the CrossFit class and you're just there, right? And whether it's CrossFit, whether it's, you know, joining a running club, whether it's joining a rock climbing gym, like literally just move yourself in a better direction. In the Navy, we would, like the captain of ship would always say, you know, don't spend time thinking of the perfect improvement to the position. Move the ship in a safe direction and then figure out where perfect is, right? If I'm driving right towards another ship and the perfect course is over here to the right somewhere, start moving right and then figure out where the end right is, right? Like helm right, 15 degrees rudder. Okay, now I can think, because we're moving towards a safe direction. But so many people just sit there and they just look at the ship and they're like, oh no, I know I need to turn. What course do I need to turn? Recommendations for course to turn. And then before they know it, they hit the ship. And I think we do that in life. And I think that's something that you get better at just by starting something, just by doing something that you know is going to be good for you, but you may not know what that thing is. You know, like I know I need to get in shape. I have no idea what CrossFit is, but I'm going to join a gym because I see the people that do CrossFit and they look like they're in shape. Or I need to eat healthier. I'm going to, you know, do this Whole30, or I'm going to do something because that's got to be better than nothing.
Yeah, I would so much rather make the wrong decision than just be caught up in indecision. Because if you make a wrong decision, at least you're able to learn from that. But if you don't make any decision whatsoever, you have no point of reference to learn from besides, oh, I probably should have made a decision.
Yeah. One of the, I feel like this is story time with Sean.
Yeah.
One of the most important lessons in leadership I ever got. This is probably the only positive thing I took out of the Naval Academy. The only positive thing. So there's this. He's passed since, but there was this colonel in the Marine Corps. This guy, Colonel Ripley, and I don't think he's connected to the Ripleys, believe it or not. But yeah, I don't think so. But he is one of the most inspirational Marines. Like the Bridge of Dong Ha is when he made his heroic Congressional Medal of Honor worthy. He didn't get the Medal of Honor because it needs an American witness, and there was some nuance about it, but it was one of those types of heroic things that you read about and see about in the movies. And the Bridge of Dong Ha is this bridge in Vietnam, and he was attached to like some Vietnamese village, some South Vietnamese village, and the North was coming and attacking this village, and the bridge, if the bridge stood, then the village would be decimated and the army could just roll right across the bridge. But if the bridge was destroyed, then the gap would give the village time to escape, essentially. And so it was all hands on deck, we got to blow this bridge up. And then the fighting started around the bridge, and then you couldn't go across the bridge on the top because you'd get shot. And so Colonel Ripley just stuck some C4 to his chest and went hand over hand across the I-beams underneath the bridge. No rope, no nothing, literally just hand over hand, and laid C4 across the whole bridge. It took like 5 or 6 trips, getting shot a few times in the process, and literally just dangling from a bridge, getting shot. Like if he let go, he falls to his death, right? That's Colonel Ripley, okay? So when he comes to your leadership class of 16 people, you pay attention. Like that's not a class that you sleep through. Like I want to hear what this guy has to say. And he spent the whole time not talking about his acts of heroism. He spent the whole time basically telling us his story of his first week in Vietnam. And he was a Naval Academy graduate, and you know, you go to Vietnam and it's you have draftees, and you have, you know, it's just one of these scenarios that I can't even imagine the leadership challenge, right? Especially if you're coming from, you know, the Naval Academy, and you go out there and you're an officer and you're new and you have no experience, but you're technically supposed to be a leader, but you don't know anything about anything.
You're in charge of all these people that have been there longer than you. It's such a weird
dynamic, and it's such a challenging leadership problem to be in. And so Colonel Ripley's leading a patrol of his new platoon that he's in charge of, or whatever. And you know, he can hear them all snicker and talk about the new green lieutenant and how this guy's, you know, doesn't know anything and whatever. And he's like, I have no idea how to handle this situation. But you know, they give him like a light, easy patrol. He does the patrol, and as they're walking back from this patrol, all of a sudden they start to get attacked. People start shooting them. And he said that they dropped to the ground, and like 2 minutes before, nobody was respecting him. Everybody was saying, you know, like, who is this guy? Who's this green lieutenant, whatever. But the moment shots were fired, he was like, every single eyeball was on me.
Yeah.
And he said the worst thing I could do in that scenario was nothing. And I had no idea what to do, but I started yelling things and orders, and I had no clue and no concept, and I knew nothing. But the only thing I knew is that I had to speak. And the moment I started speaking, people started acting. And the most important way that people acted was to tell me that what I was telling them to do was wrong.
Yep.
No, sir, let's not do that. We need to go over here. Great, do that.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's exactly your point. Like, you have to act in order to get feedback.
Yeah.
But if you would have just sat there, now the whole system falls apart, because, you know, the military system requires orders and, you know, whatever, and feedback, and you can't just have 500 people running in different directions. There needs to be, you know, organization.
Yep.
And so, I mean, after he told me that changed my life. Like,
Yeah.
that was okay. The worst mistake is not allowing yourself to make a mistake.
Yes.
And I took that into my submarine service, and, you know, we would do like these casualty drills, and I would just get on the microphone and start like yelling all these things, and then people would be like, recommend not doing that, recommend shutting this valve, not opening that valve. Very well, do that.
Sounds good. You sound like you know what you're talking about here.
We're gonna do your advice. And then, you know, when you got graded, you would get marks for good watch team backup.
Yeah.
Engineer officer watch, down mark for stupidity and being dumb, but great watch team backup.
Yep.
But I really like that idea of like applying these concepts to fitness, where like you don't know that you're not gonna like CrossFit unless you do CrossFit, right? You don't know that, you know, rock climbing doesn't really work for you if you don't do it.
Yep.
And you gotta do it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not talking like for a week or a month, probably like 3 to 6 months.
Yes.
Especially when we're talking about something fitness, something really hard and challenging.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna go you're gonna have great days and you're gonna have bad days.
Yeah.
Probably in anything, and you gotta have enough context to know, are you just having a bad week, a bad month, or is this just something you don't really connect with?
Yeah. And I think one of the big things too is, you know, in that first 3 to 6 months, be open to learning. You're the newbie here. You got to be open to learning. We don't care what you've read on the internet or anything like that. Just listen to your coach.
Right.
You know, they'll walk you through it. I mean, everything that I've done, you know, I've done the research, I've talked to coaches, and it's, you know, you just gotta be open to learning and take that advice, and don't just ignore advice from people that have been doing this a lot longer than you have, probably.
Yeah. And that's something that I mean, especially in fitness, where you have so many different camps, you know, it's like, oh, well, I'm the bodybuilder and this is the right way to go. And, you know, I'm the paleo and that's the only thing that, you know, that we do for this is we just pick up heavy rocks or whatever. It doesn't matter, right?
Yep.
There's a million right answers to fitness, you know, like there are literally millions. I say this all the time. CrossFit can work for everyone, but won't.
Yeah.
You know, like it can, it will. If you do constantly varied functional movements at a high intensity, you're going to get in good shape. But that doesn't work for everybody, right? And I'm cool with that. I don't need everybody.
Yep.
I need the 10 people who I think are amazing people. I need them, right?
Yeah.
I don't need the whole world to do this. But what doesn't work is universal, right?
Yep.
Like what doesn't work, you will not get in shape sitting on your couch watching TV, right? You will not get in shape eating bonbons and popcorn and playing video games.
Nope.
That has a role in a healthy, balanced life, you know?
Like yesterday, I worked out for 2 hours at open gym, and then I spent the remainder of the day probably just playing video games at a standing desk, though.
That's pretty legit.
I threw some jump ropes in there. I got these little handles with the string attached to them.
It's way more motivated than I am. See, I think if I work out, I would say my goal right now is I want to sweat every day.
Yep.
That's a goal.
Okay.
Whether that's like an organized sweat, like I go to CrossFit and I sweat, or whether I go to jiu-jitsu and sweat, or whether I just don't do anything and then I have to, like, I don't know, do 100 push-ups.
7 minutes of burpees.
Yeah. But the moment sweat happens, it's like, check, done. I'm sitting down.
When I started thinking about the 7-minute burpees.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And I'll just take a really hot bath.
Yeah.
But it's, like that's what's so fascinating to me about health and fitness and everything, is that there's so many right answers, but the wrong answer is universal, right?
Yeah.
Inaction, inactivity, doing nothing is always wrong. Doing something is always better than nothing.
Yeah.
And with so many different options out there, it's almost, I don't like shaming people into fitness, because I think that's silly, but I do like challenging people to improve themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's really inspirational. So, inspirational. Fuck it. That's exactly what it is. Inspirational about your stories about fitness is just your constant ability to find something new and tackle it.
Yeah.
And then become good at it. And then repeat that process.
Yeah. There were some misses there, like swimming, but
Well,
I still went after it, and that's what counts.
Exactly. But I mean, you're a significantly better swimmer now than when you started.
Yes,
And
definitely.
just because you don't fall in love, just because you don't fall in love with something doesn't mean it's a miss.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it's like whatever.
I gained a new skill, that's for sure.
Yeah, and that's the part about CrossFit that a lot of people miss, is this practice and play new sports. They talk about gymnastics and cardiovascular and weightlifting, and the very, very tip of that triangle is literally, it says practice and play new sports. And I think that's what a lot of people miss in their fitness, is you just get stuck in the gym and you just get blinded to exactly what happens in the gym, and you don't apply that fitness anywhere. Like, what's the point of life?
Yeah.
What's the point of preparing for life if you have no application for that fitness?
Yeah.
And that's the fun stuff. I mean, sure, thrusters and pull-ups is a lot of fun.
Some days.
But more fun is climbing a mountain.
Yeah.
More fun is, playing a sport. I don't know, maybe for me at least.
Yeah. And I think you bring up a good point, like being in the gym. When I first started, and I'm sure this is a story for some people, especially, you kind of treat every workout like the CrossFit Open workout. You just go 110%
Every single time.
all at it.
Right.
And I think that's a lot of that's that mistake that you start making, like when you're in that 6 to 12 month range after you learn the movements.
Yeah.
And you are like, okay, we're gonna start like kicking up the intensity, and you just kind of mentally burn yourself out. And I think that's one of the things that I'm most afraid of, is mentally burning myself out if I commit myself too much to something.
Yeah.
So I kind of just have to adjust that level of how much like effort or commitment I'm putting towards something, so I don't mentally burn myself out. And I think I've had my thresholds pretty high. Like I can still go pretty hard during workouts without being like, this is the CrossFit Open, I'm going 110%. But this Friday though, it is going to be 110% effort.
It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be incredible. The Sean CrossFit Open.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. And I was listening to oh man, he's a great Kenny whatever. He's the owner of CrossFit LA. And I met him and I was talking to him, and then I listened to him in a podcast shortly thereafter where he was talking about, in their gym they sort of adapted this idea. They have 3 different workouts that you can choose to do on any given day.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
It's recovery, it's like consistency, or it's like game day.
Game day.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's the same workout, it's just a little different. Like let's say if it was Fran, like the game day would be 21:59, 95:65.
Yeah.
Crush it. 100% effort. All out. The consistency might be 21:59 thrusters, pull-ups with a minute rest in between each.
Yeah.
And then recovery might be 21:15 or 42:30:18 with a 15-pound barbell and jumping pull-ups.
Yeah.
Something like that. Where like you show up, how do you feel? Do how you feel.
Yeah. Pick whatever you want.
But I mean, I would always like I don't know if I would ever go game day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sometimes I need that nudge. If I have too much of a choice, I don't know if that would work for me.
Yeah.
But I do like that idea of like No doubt about it. No doubt about it. If you go 100% every time you're in the gym, you're going to get more results than if you don't.
Yep.
Unless you're never in the gym,
Yep.
because you went 100%, and it takes you 18 days to recover from that.
You went 100% 3 months in a row, and then you need 6 months off.
Yeah, like swim seasons. When I was swimming in high school and college, much more so in college, just because of all the other, like high school is such a protected environment. You come home, your mom has cooked you dinner, you go to school, you have friends. Like life is easy in high school, but in college, especially at the Naval Academy, life was not so easy, and it sucked. And there was so much other pressure and stress outside of swimming that swimming broke me in college. Like it just broke me mentally.
Mm-hmm.
High school, it was still fun because that's all your friends, and
Yeah.
so you're showing up and you're hanging out with your friends, and and you're working hard. But like in high school, you could get amped for that 2 hours in the morning, that 2 hours at night. That's your stressful part, but everything else is kind of like, oh, whatever.
Smooth sailing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's taken care of for me.
Bingo, right. And that's nice. It's nice to, it's nice to be able to grow up in that environment.
Yeah.
Like that's the only way that I achieved what I achieved in swimming is because, my family and where we grew up and all those things were really great. College, however, broke me mentally so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, it was literally like I remember the very first practice, and I was like, "Well, this sucks."
Yeah.
3200s, and I was like, "Whoa, did what? No, what? No."
That sounds like a lot.
Yeah, and
Let's cut that down to 10.
Yeah, let's not do that. And I think, when you're training, like again, that goes back to that 80-20 conversation. That last 20%. Well, the last 20% of the last 20%, like to get to that 5% or to get to that 1%, to be the best, to be the best on your team in college, to be competitive in the Division I, circuit, to be elite at anything, that last 20%, it's not even about that. It's about that top 1%.
Yeah.
And that is so exhausting.
Yes.
But the pursuit, like the result is so rewarding because it's proportional to the amount of work that you put into it, right?
Yeah.
If you swim off course in a triathlon that you're training at the 80% level, yeah, it's frustrating. It sucks a little bit. You probably want to finish that, but that would be nowhere near the devastation of 9 months of training for a race and you fall start and you don't get to swim the race.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Can't even imagine that.
Yeah. And so, like, to some extent, I think it's really important to find that thing that you're going to pursue figure out how far you can push yourself.
Yes.
But then, like, that is so mentally exhausting. That is so time consuming. That is so draining. And that's also not a pursuit that fits into everyone's life. Like, if you're 30, have 2 kids and a wife, like, that's probably not the time to become top 1% chess player in the world.
Yeah.
You know?
I've been actually reading a lot of stories with the Winter Olympics going on. There's a DC curling club, and I guess, every 4 years that DC curling club just becomes packed. And I've heard that you can't book it for a year now because people see it on the Olympics and they're like, that doesn't look that hard. I could do that. Let's start signing up for DC curling. And then, I think they're going to have a harsh reality when they figure out, oh, this 10 to 20% isn't so bad. You learn a little bit more, and it's just a whole different game that they're playing.
Yeah. But I think that's really, I think that's fun because if you do fall in love with something,
yes,
then there's almost an infinite complexity that goes into that thing. Certainly that's true with fitness. You can always get more and more and more fit. You can optimize your recovery. You can optimize your sleep. You can make sure your nutrition's on point. There's a million different angles that you can go. Mm-hmm. Take something like chess or jiu-jitsu or something that's you just keep pulling back the onion, and every layer that you go deeper and deeper into the game, there's a whole I was studying chess. I had a goal to beat my dad in chess.
Oh yeah,
and
I think we've all had that goal.
I know. Do you play chess?
Oh yes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think we talked about this. Yeah. We gotta play. But I studied. I was on the submarine. I went on a deployment, and for 6 months I studied chess. I studied it hard.
Yeah.
Really aggressively studied. I had books, and I remember getting pretty good, getting to that 80%, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not nowhere near like great, but I'm definitely at the 80%. And I remember finding the next book that would help take me to the next level. And I remember I was looking at books that like I didn't even comprehend what the book was about. Like, they were talking about maintaining tension in chess games and how, you know, like the psychological battle and like going into aspects of the game that I didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's too much for me. I'm pretty good here. You know,
Yeah.
like if you play me in chess, it'll be a good game, unless you're really, really insanely good, and then it won't be a good game. But I can be competitive with most people, and I think that's a fun place to be.
Yeah.
But it's also awesome to know that if I'm not satisfied with that level, that I can get deeper, and I can get deeper, and I can go deeper.
Yeah. The knowledge is there.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I'm very excited for those people that are signing up for curling for a year, but I think they're going to be hit by that, oh my gosh, curling is not as easy as I thought it would be.
For sure. Well, I think it's expectations, right?
Yeah.
Like I think one of the things that, and you touched on this earlier, like you have to come in to something that you're new at with the mindset of wanting to learn.
Yeah.
Right? Setting your ego aside. Sure, you might be, you know, like this, like you might be a former collegiate athlete.
Yeah.
But you're brand new at this.
Yep.
So yeah, you might pick it up faster than some people, but you still have to pick it up.
Yes.
You know, and I mean that's one thing I'm learning in jiu-jitsu, and I certainly went in with a proper mindset. But when you're in the middle of a fight, you forget.
Yeah.
Right, and it's just like, oh, I can muscle this guy off, and especially being a little bigger because I do CrossFit, and I just throw people off me. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not the right technique. And if this person was my size, I wouldn't be able to do that. So why don't I practice and you know, and then just having the humility of, you know, listening to your coach and like all of that stuff I think is so important. Yeah. And if you approach curling going, oh well, this is easy, I'm going to join the Olympics next season because this is so easy. Yeah. And I'm like amazing at this. I was really good at my high school shuffleboard team. You're not gonna get anywhere.
Yeah. And man, I love our athletes at Old City CrossFit because I think for the most part, every athlete I've worked with has come in with that mindset.
For sure.
I'm here to learn.
Yeah.
I want to learn this new skill. I don't know anything about it. I may have done some bodybuilding or squatting,
for sure,
but I'm open to learning how to not quarter squat anymore.
Yeah. And even if like what I certainly agree about our athletes, and what I love about most people's perspective when it comes to, you know, learning CrossFit, learning sports, like being coached, is I'm not sitting here telling you that I know everything, right? I don't know everything. There's a lot of things that you know, but I'm going to see something in you and I'm going to communicate to you, and hopefully together we start to build a complete puzzle in your head about what, you know, what fitness is, what squat is, what CrossFit is. And it's like I'm here to help show you what I see, right? And then you take what I see, and then you start to build a complete puzzle, right? So yeah, you may have a ton of knowledge on, you know, body awareness through gymnastics training that you took, or, you know, you grew up playing, I don't know, lacrosse or something, and you had a strength coach who taught you something. Well, now I'm teaching you something else from my perspective, and it's your job as the athlete to sort of take all of these different perspectives and start to build your understanding of fitness, of CrossFit, of life, together with, you know, with input that you're getting from everybody. Yeah. And if you're not open to listening, then you're not gonna take advantage of, you know, something. Yeah. Like I truly, and one of the reasons why I started this podcast, like I truly believe that everybody I talk to has something to teach me. Yep. You know, even being the owner and you know, like you technically work for me, Sean. Yeah. Like if I can't learn from you, then that's my ego preventing my ability to grow as a person. Yep.
And I think that's, you know, they say doctors are the worst patients to treat. I think sometimes coaches are the worst athletes to train, because
for sure
some coaches come in thinking, no, I have my way, and there are definitely some things that I know I'm like, no, I have my way, I'm not.
Yeah.
But I, you know, it's something that I've been working on, and I always try to be open, like, hey, and I always ask the coach when it's not a busy class, hey, can you take a look at this and see I want to get as many different points of view as possible
Right.
to try and improve myself.
Well, yeah, and you're building the picture, and sometimes the best way to build a picture is to to look in the mirror, and
Yeah.
you can look in the mirror, sure, but a coach was going to see things that you're not going to see.
Yeah.
And that's why I think everybody needs a coach in everything that they want to get better at, right?
Yeah.
If you want to get better at chess, you probably need a chess coach.
Yeah.
If you want to get better at rock climbing, you probably need a rock climbing coach. If you want to get better at public speaking, get a public speaking coach.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that you could do on your own. Like self-study, especially in the internet, can take you so far. It can even take you into excellence.
Yeah.
But you're always gonna, not always, you're more likely to just affirm your own bias if you're in constant self-study than be forced to explore areas that you're not comfortable with. If you go to the gym and work out, you're likely to just do the things that you're good at over and over again and get even better at those things. And you're probably not going to have the perspective or motivation to work on things that you're really weak at. Like if you just show up to the gym 4 times a week, you're going to stumble across workouts that you suck at, that you don't like, movements that you're really bad at. Where if you just go up to the gym and do whatever it is that you want, you're never going to be forced to run. You're never going to be forced to do handstand push-ups or dips.
Yeah.
And you're always going to be, power snatching and deadlifting.
Yep. If you want to get better at something, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
100%.
Yep.
Yeah. That's like in jiu-jitsu, one of the things, I'm nowhere near at the level to do this, but one of the things that I've heard of like the more experienced people do is they'll intentionally put themselves into very weak positions that they're not competent in to explore that position and to learn better how to deal with that position against more junior people.
Yeah.
So like I'm a very, very junior white belt, and so a blue belt might say like, hey, let's start with you in this much, this very good position that I could never get him in otherwise.
Yeah.
But now he gets to practice escaping, this side control position from, a really heavy guy who's going to put a lot of pressure on him.
Yep.
And so now he gets better at a position that he's weak at because he has the ability to say, hey, we're training here. Training's about getting better. It's not about winning. So he's going to put himself in a position where potentially a really junior white belt can submit a pretty senior blue belt.
Yep.
Like that would never happen in real life, But because he has the wherewithal to get better at something, he's saying like, yeah, let's do this.
And it gives you the opportunity to get into a new position and
Right.
see how you would react to what he's doing as
Exactly.
well.
And it literally is like a win-win. But
Yeah.
the only way that you can get to that win-win is if you truly enter that with a mindset of wanting to get better,
Yep.
a mindset of improvement, not a mindset of victory.
Yep.
When I was studying chess, Chess Master was my teacher for a long time. Have you heard of that game? Chess
No.
Master 9000.
No.
It's basic. Like seriously, I have looked for this game. There's a bunch of videos on YouTube that have it, but not the game. Like the whole complete, like the way that it was set up. It had courses. The guy teaching it is this guy, Josh Waitskin, who was the kid in Searching for Bobby Fischer. And Josh Waitskin's teacher, Bruce Pandolfini, they created this. I don't know if they created the game or if they were picked by the people who created the game to teach the chess, but it is phenomenal in the way that they teach chess. And Josh is always telling stories about his childhood and whatever. And he was telling a story about how he was touring around the world, and his father was bragging about his son having never lost a chess game in like 6 years, undefeated in 6 years. And Josh is like, that's terrible. That's terrible.
It's not good.
Because your son isn't pushing himself. You need to find your son better competition, or he's never going to improve.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's, like strength training, jiu-jitsu, rock climbing. If you just do the one path that you can do, you're not going to get that much better. You're going to get some better. You're going to get better at doing that path. But like we grow as humans at the margin of our abilities, and if you never find the margin of that ability, then you're never going to grow. Yeah. Right? If you don't lift weights until you fail, you're not going to get stronger. Yeah. Right? Maybe you will. Maybe you can get stronger doing 100 reps at 50% of your max, but still that 100th rep is failure. Yep. That's such an important concept, right? To grow is to fail.
Yep. And for me, I think when I went into powerlifting, all my meets I wanted to be perfect, 9 for 9, basically hit, every attempt, never get any red light. And it wasn't until my national competition where I got one of my first red lights. So the way it works is you finish your lift, and then you have 3 judges, and they each give a red light or a white light, saying whether the lift was good or bad, and they have various reasons why they would do that. And I had never, ever gotten a red light in my life before until I stepped onto the national stage, and I was like, I thought I was doing everything the same, but I wasn't, or maybe I was, and the other judges in the past, were going easy on me.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think that was definitely an eye-opener for me when I got some of my first red lights on the national stage, and I was a little turned off from powerlifting for a while.
Right.
I needed to take some time off because I was like, I'm just so burned out. I trained so hard for this. I didn't really PR except for my deadlift.
Nice.
I didn't really PR or perform as well as I wanted to on this stage. So I kind of took a step back and reevaluated, and then and that's when I really did truly learn what it takes to be at that 1% again.
Yeah. That's really interesting. Yeah, because failure is a tough thing.
Yeah.
It's a brutal teacher.
Yep.
And it takes I'm not sitting here saying I get super jazzed about failing. I don't enjoy missing lifts. I don't enjoy doing bad at CrossFit. I certainly don't enjoy getting choked out in the gym. But it's something that
needs to happen.
It has to happen.
Yeah.
And if it's not happening, then you're failing in a different reason.
Yeah.
You're failing for a different reason. Your failure is going to come if it hasn't come yet. And yeah, I think that's something that is I think it is a value. I think a lot of people understand that value, but I don't think they consciously seek failure.
Yep.
As much as they should.
And to avoid talking about failure too much, failure does lead to success.
And it makes the success sweeter.
Yeah.
Right?
I even have a good story about how it led to my success. So after that national competition, the very next powerlifting meet was, I'm going to start training like one of those 1% athletes.
Yeah.
So, that's when I decided to cut down my weight so I could compete in the lower weight class. And my lifts would still stay about the same. So I competed in the lower weight class. I think I got signed up for this competition. Was able to lift about the same, maybe 20 or 30 pounds less on most of my lifts.
Yeah.
But then that's the competition that I was able to take a giant check home for $200, which just about covered the registration of that competition.
That's awesome. Just about, not quite.
Yeah.
Just about.
Yeah. So, it's super awesome to win stuff, but it's definitely the journey that takes you there that I think is the thing that you most learn from.
Right. Well, I think the victory is as sweet as the journey was difficult.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If I Liam and I, we won the spike ball tournament. That was awesome. It was really cool to win. But it's not like I was training 8 hours a day every day.
Were you?
Okay. Well, yeah. Liam and I had secret training camps. It was really sweet. Well, 2 things. One, I think it's like when the competition is really high, that also affects
how good it feels.
Yeah, how good it feels. But when the competition is really high, then the road needs to be longer to overcome that competition, and that's why there's no better feeling. The happiest I've ever been is not the happiest I've ever been. It's a bit of a platitude, but I insanely proud of my performances when I was swimming. Insanely proud of victories and of my accomplishments in that arena, because it was an arena of everyone who was taking it as seriously as I did, and there was thousands of failures, and then there was that one shining moment where you touched the wall first, and it just
did it.
Yeah, and it has little to do with that moment, because when you touch, that moment feels great, but you're just sitting back feeling the gravity of every moment leading up to that moment.
Yep.
And being proud that you did that, and knowing that another thing that feels good about winning in hard things is like knowing that you can rise to the challenge, knowing that you can overcome the challenge, and knowing that you're capable of, like, if I could do this, I could do anything.
Yes.
That sort of thing. I think that's so important.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been a theme of basically every podcast I've had in the last like 3 or 4 weeks. It's like we always stumble across this point of like, why do challenging things? You know?
Yeah, why bother? Why not just sit on the couch and, drink beer and eat chips?
Right.
Yeah. You can still do that and be healthy if you work out at Old City CrossFit 4 or 5 times a week.
For sure. But I think challenging things is like doing challenging things is a way to like learn more about yourself, a way to explore. Like we talked about, you get better at the margins of your abilities. And so how do you improve if you don't find the margins of your abilities, And so one thing I love about CrossFit is every time you show up, you're going to be introduced to failure. You can't win CrossFit.
Nope.
I mean one like Matt Frazier can win CrossFit.
Yeah.
Right?
He's it.
But even in the process of him winning CrossFit, he's faced with failure every single time. Like at the end of each workout, he's going as hard as he can.
Yeah.
He is at the door of failure, and he has to push. He has to walk through the door or not. And especially at the gym level, it's like at the level of people that we have at the gym, which no one's Matt Frazier.
Yeah,
it's not insulting.
No
anybody.
one can be Matt Frazier.
I think at that level, it's failure comes a lot quicker.
Yeah,
and I think that's cool.
Yeah, and I think it's great to have little goals for a workout. I think we had a workout last week that was 10 toes to bar, 10-minute AMRAP with 10 toes to bar in it, and I set a goal for myself: don't do more than 2 sets.
Yeah. Or
don't break this up into more than 2 sets.
Yeah.
So either do 6-4 or just go unbroken. I think I was able to do that for the whole 10 minutes. And
yeah.
But there will be some days where you miss that goal, and then okay, I failed that goal, but it's something I know I need to improve on now.
Right. And you start to think about, did I fail that goal because I wasn't strong enough physically? Did I fail that goal because I wasn't strong enough mentally? Did I fail that goal because I gave up on myself? Why didn't I do what I set out to do?
Yeah.
And that is the process of becoming better, like both physically and as a human, right? Like, why did I let myself down in this scenario?
Yeah.
Man, I should be better. I should pay more attention to, that next time.
Yep.
And I think that is I think that's so important. That's so important because like never sitting on your couch watching TV did you go, oh, well, that's an area in my life where I could be better, unless it's the inverse where you're hitting rock bottom because you sat on the couch for 18 hours and then you stood up and you're like, oh God, I feel like garbage. I shouldn't have done that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, we figured that one out.
Yeah.
Cool. So
you just got to do things.
Yeah, do things, man. Just literally like find a skill that you'd like to have, and then start acquiring that skill. Right? If you want to be good at chess, find Chessmaster 9000, and then when that runs its course, find a chess coach. If you want to get in better shape, join a gym. If you want to get in really good shape, join Old City CrossFit. If you want to learn Spanish, start studying Spanish. Like, just action. I've said this before, but Dan Carlin, he had a podcast with Joe Rogan. He was talking about life being a verb. Like, life is action. In order to improve yourself, you need to move yourself. Like, move towards what it is that you want. If you're inactive, you fall. If you're active, you can actively move in a negative direction, but that's not going to take very long. Like, you're going to actively move in a negative direction, and then you're very quickly going to write your course.
Yeah.
You're very quickly going to go, well, I didn't like that at all. I'm never doing that again. But
now I know.
So now I'm going to do something I like.
Yeah.
You mentioned a while ago that you wanted to coach. So I want to explore that a little bit more. So like I remember like I think you're the second oldest coach we have, not old in age, but I think Jen Jacobs is the only more longer coach that we've had. So just walk me through mentally, just how your mind evolved from, you know, getting into fitness, having no real experience with fitness, getting into fitness, and then wanting to turn that into what I would consider like a fitness leadership position.
Yeah, I mean, I think we touched on it a little bit too with that paralysis through overanalysis, where when I first started fitness, I really had no idea what I was getting myself into. So I was on the internet, you know, browsing all the sites, figuring out what the best program was. If I did this, I would do it all wrong. And I think I wanted to become a coach because I don't want people to go through that. I have a lot of my coworkers always coming up to me because they've learned that I'm a fitness coach now. They always come up to me and asking, hey, what's the best program that I should do? Or what program should I do to get stronger? My immediate answer will always just be 5x5, starting strength. Do that 3 months, 6 months, come check back in with me after that. Or just come to Old City CrossFit and we'll get you on a good strength program. But out of all the coworkers that I've told to do starting strength 5x5 or any workout program and come check back in with me in 3 to 6 months, I don't think I've ever had anyone actually come back to me with their results. So I think just joining a gym and having a coach is so important to being able to get that consistency that you need.
Yeah.
And you can't just it's very rare that a person can just ask another person, hey, what program should I pick up? Oh, that program? Cool. I'm going to go do that for the next 6 months. Maybe occasionally check in, and I'll check back in with you and get a new program.
Yeah.
But that's so rare that a person can do that. That coach is a necessity for that to happen. And I wish I had it sooner, but now I'm able to be that coach to make that process hopefully as easy as possible to get into fitness.
For sure. I think accountability is so important.
Yeah.
And also, I think a coach reduces your time in exploring bad ideas.
Yep.
Right? If you want to get into great shape, there are coaches who literally, I mean, this is all I do. You know, Sean works for IBM. Yeah. But I'm his brain is in fitness basically all day.
Yeah.
Or most of the day, right? This is what we do, man. Like the same way a chef knows the best way to cook a steak, we know the best way to get in shape.
Yeah.
Maybe not the best out of all the humans in the planet, the same way that there's chefs who are better than other chefs, right? But if you wanna learn to cook, you see a chef, or you take a cooking class. If you want to get in shape, you do the same thing. You need a coach, because a coach is going to take. You're not. Somebody told this to me, and I thought this was so awesome, right? It was a way of sort of valuing yourself, whatever it is, right? Every human has a value to them. Obviously, financially in the market, and just because we're humans,
yeah,
you have value, but it's you're not paying for access to my equipment in the gym, or you're not paying just to show up and touch a barbell. You're paying for the wealth of knowledge that our collective coaches have. You're paying for the 20 years of experience that Jen Jacobs has, that the lifetime of experience that Sean Chua has in his growth of CrossFit. You're paying for all of the knowledge that I have. You're paying for an accelerated download of information.
Yep.
Right? We've sifted through all of the crap, and we're left with the golden nuggets, and we're just going to give you golden nuggets. That's what coaches do. Coaches give you golden nuggets so that you don't have to sift through all the dirt to find them yourself. And so coaches accelerate. Coaches get you results much faster than not coaches.
Yeah. For me, this is what's worked for 90% of the people that I've worked with. Oh, that didn't work for you? Here's another solution that worked for about 10% of the people that I worked with. Oh, that didn't work for you either? Those are my favorite things, because then we get to learn, we're almost like fitness counselors in that position where, okay, we have to figure out a new way to kind of get you into fitness.
Right. Yeah, it happens all the time in our our staff meetings. We're like, hey, let's hey, I'm struggling finding success with this person in this scenario, and any ideas for ways that we can do something different or something better, or like, what do you think about this, or hey, what's worked for you in this scenario? And those are conversations that coaches are having, because obviously, like, we want to constantly get better, and we want to the same way that we want to get better at at fitness or climbing or whatever else, we also want to get better at coaching. And in order to get better at coaching, it requires those case studies that we can't fix.
Yep.
Like, it requires failure.
All comes back to failure.
Oh man, yeah. And I think that's spot on, right? Like, I'm not saying you can't get better without a coach. I'm saying you're going to get better a lot faster with a coach.
Yes.
And so you realized that early on, and then just wanted to be a part of that improvement. Like, be a force of good.
Yeah, I want to be a part of someone's fitness journey.
Yeah, and I love, that's exactly right. Like, I love the idea of fitness journey too, because there literally is no end point to this.
Yeah,
and it's cyclical, and it's sure, you can always get better, but also like, part of the journey is like falling off the wagon.
Yep.
Getting back on the wagon.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a coach for 3 or 4 years now at this point, and it has been amazing, because there have been some athletes that I've coached since the time that I've begun coaching, and seeing how they've grown and how I've grown since then
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Yeah, I keep in touch with basically all of my swim coaches growing up.
Yeah.
And it blows my mind that 20 years later, we still have this connection.
Yeah.
20 years later, and I think about all of the thousands of kids that this, Coach Block, he was my high school swim coach. He's, I didn't realize how significant a player he was in like the world swimming scene until long after high school. But like, he was the president of the American Swimming Association. He's the president of the World Swimming Association. He's like the godfather of swimming, right?
Oh, jeez, yeah.
When people go through San Antonio, like when the best coaches of the world go through San Antonio, they take George to lunch, not the other way around. You know what I'm saying?
Pay their respects.
That's right. Kiss the ring.
Yeah.
He's incredible, but he's like, I think about the impact that he made on my life, and like the lessons he taught me about life through swimming were so profound. And I think that's the power a coach has, is we use a language, and that language, like, we use CrossFit. Coach Block used swimming. There's a language, and that language is the mechanism for teaching people how to be better, how to get more out of something, right? Like, and that language is accountability. That language is pride. That language is failure. That language is sadness. That language is overcoming. Like, I remember I was how old was I? I was like 11, something like that. Or I was 11. And when you go from 10 and under to 11, 12, the time standards get super fast for boys. I mean, it's like night and day. It's like you go from the top to the bottom the day your birthday. It sucked. And we went on a trip, 2-week trip up to southwestern Virginia from Texas, where my mom's family is. And that 2-week trip, like, I didn't swim, I didn't train. My coach told me to train.
Nope.
I didn't do it. And I got back, and a few months later, I didn't swim well. I missed all of these time standards by tenths of seconds.
Yeah.
And I was, you go and you talk to your coach after every race, and he was like, now we know the importance of a 2-week trip. And I was like at the time,
Coach, I'm 11.
right? Like, at the time, I was devastated. I was mad. I was angry at Coach Block, like seeing my family, and I was making all these excuses because I didn't want to be told that it was my fault.
Yeah.
But then the more I thought about it, like, there was a pool.
Yeah.
Literally, I could have walked to the pool from my grandmother's house. I went there 0 times.
Yeah.
0 times. That's on me.
Yep.
That's not on the fact that I'm on a family vacation. That's not the fact that, like, I didn't train.
Yep. And if you want to compete at that level,
right,
got to train.
And so it takes a pretty strong person to tell an 11-year-old that a 2-week vacation is why they're sucking at something. And I don't know, like I think that function of a coach is so important. And it's not just, it's not just the balance of that, but it's you come back and you talk to your coach and he's like smiling and he's like, that's it. I told the story in the first podcast where Coach Block, like I told him what my goals were to medal, to podium at the state swim meet at the end of the season. He was like, no, you're going to do so much better than that. And he reshaped my whole perception of myself in such an immensely positive way. And he put my eyes on gold. And if my eyes were just on podium, then I would have never gotten to the podium.
Yeah.
But because he focused my eyes on the gold, then that made me realize that I was so much better than I otherwise could have been.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's the beautiful thing. Like, that's what I love about coaching.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about, I don't know, we're there in so many people's, we're there every single day in people's lives, and we have so many different ways to help people and touch people and show people what they're capable of. And it's, I don't know, it's like, I love it.
Yeah.
It's certainly like, I'm speechless.
Yeah. One last anecdote. I mean, like you said, you aimed low and your coach was like, no, aim higher. I mean, we have that all the time in the gym.
Yeah.
We had one recently where an athlete kind of was getting frustrated with double unders, and she was trying to get better with them, even though she was like just joined the gym a few months ago.
Yeah.
And she's like, my goal is going to be 20 double unders. And I had already seen her do like 5 at that point. And
Right.
if you could do 5 double unders, it's
Yeah.
not going to take long. I was like, no, your goal is like 40 double
Right.
unders.
1,000.
Yeah. And then, I think the next weekend she came in and just like knocked out 30 something double unders. I was
Right.
like, well, now it's 80.
Right. Now your goal is no longer double unders. Your goal is handstand push-ups.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Like now you've got this.
Yeah.
Right. So now let's move on. I think that's really cool because, a coach is going to see your potential.
Yeah.
Right. More clearly than you see your potential, because you see all of the
Results. Yeah.
well, yeah, certainly. Like, but as an athlete, I see my ability through the fear, like through the lens of my own fears and rationalizations in my head.
And doubts. Yeah.
Right. Like in jiu-jitsu, I don't see my potential because I don't even know what potential looks like.
Yeah.
I don't even know what good looks like. I see other people who are good, but I don't know what good looks like with my body, my athleticism, my skill set. I don't know if I have potential to be really good or just potential to be okay. Like I have no context of the upper end of what the sport could be at all, whatever.
Yeah.
But my coaches do,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes, they do.
My coaches see that, and my coaches go, yeah, this is, whatever, or no, you're not doing this right. You're not putting the work in here. You're putting too much work in here. Like the coaches see that because the coaches have the perspective. Yeah. And I think with, especially now that, the gym's been around for 5 years, we've seen those athletes grow from nothing into
From nothing.
we've
You were
molded
nothing before.
we've grown with a lot of our athletes in the gym, and we've seen like I know what good swimming looks like. I know what good CrossFit looks like, and I also know what you are capable of when I see you. Like not like I'm not. Anyway, I mean,
Yeah, we never come in or we do our best to set people's expectations. And if someone comes in saying, hey, I want to go to the CrossFit Games, I've never done CrossFit before.
Yep.
I think that's where you were trying to...
yeah, you're probably not going to make that.
Yeah. But, I mean, let's set out a plan for you to make it to the CrossFit Games. How does your next year to 2 look?
Right.
And you better have nothing else going on besides CrossFit and nutrition and sleep in your life.
Yeah, exactly. Let's, sort of like what we were talking about before. Let's move the ship in the right direction.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to make it to the CrossFit Games? Okay, cool. Well, let's start by training 6 times a week.
Yeah.
So let's see if we can do that first,
Yeah.
and then we'll go from there.
Yeah.
But I think even just like in the gym where like when we're getting ready to start the workout and everybody has the weight on the bar and you look at someo's bar and it like looks a little light.
Yeah.
And you're just like, hey, what about What about 5 pounds more? What about 10 pounds more?
The Jason method.
Just
Slide
slide
that
it on when they're
Yeah.
not looking. Well, we can't say that. Then everybody's gonna know.
Yeah.
The not Jason method. We'll edit that out.
Yeah. Pause for edit.
That's right. I think that's I agree. I think that's the beautiful thing about coaching. That's what I get out of coaching. That's what I really enjoy is showing, like, giving someone permission to be more confident in themselves than they are, right? Like, showing that it's okay to want to be the best in the state.
Yeah.
Right? It's okay to want to aim for gold. You don't have to be a podium finisher. You can be at the top of the podium, right? Like, hey, person who's about to do CrossFit, it's okay to want to do these RX, but today's not the day.
Yeah. It's okay to do this, but we're also going to show you what it takes to get there.
Yeah, and yeah, I think that's a cool story. I think if you want to get better at something, you need a coach. I think ultimately is the point we're getting after here. If you want to get to that 80% as fast as possible, you're like, get a coach. You can get there. You can certainly get there.
You're just going to make a lot more mistakes on the way.
Yeah, that's cool. So you enjoy being a coach?
I do. Yes. Keep me on.
Don't fire me.
I coach Saturdays and Sundays. It's on the internet now.
That's right. What's like the next challenge? Have you thought that far ahead? Is there something that you want to do?
Next challenge, I think, it might be back to CrossFit and really trying to improve myself there, getting a bit more intensity, maybe doing a competition in this upcoming year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna see how badly I crush you in the open, and you're gonna be so demoralized.
Yeah.
It's funny because we're recording this, and I won't publish it until like probably a month after the open's finished.
Yeah.
People are gonna be like, "What are they talking about?"
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping for a good 18.1 workout that is competitive between the two of us.
Yeah, I'm hoping like
Pull-ups, muscle-ups, and
yeah, that'll be super competitive.
squats. Squats only.
Oh, I just hope I hope it's something I don't have to scale. That's all I'm hoping for. Like, please just let the first one be something I could do.
Yeah.
Or not, whatever. I'm
Either
okay.
way.
I'm okay with
Learn from failures.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So you want to kind of like get back into CrossFit and like turn the volume up on that a little bit?
Yeah, turn the volume up on CrossFit a little bit more. I'm enjoying rock climbing, doing that once or twice a week, but yeah, I think it's time to turn up the volume on CrossFit.
Yeah, that's cool. That's always what I've thought CrossFit should be, is something that's always constantly there.
And adjustable.
And adjustable, right.
Yeah.
And I like, my future kids are going to be doing CrossFit all the time, and I sort of see, when their soccer seasons pick up, then the volume of CrossFit gets turned down.
Yeah.
It's still there because you need, like, the biggest misconception about CrossFit is it's this intense training program that's gonna wah.
Yeah.
And while it is that, to be sure, it's also not that. Like, it's a movement practice. It's a dedicated practice that teaches you how to get more out of your body more consistently, right? Like, it lays a foundation. CrossFit is what makes your body ready to be used, and using your body is what life is. Like, I'm picking up jiu-jitsu faster because I did CrossFit for 7 years. You're better at rock climbing because you did CrossFit for however many years. If you're approaching a new sport with no concept of nutrition, mobility, intensity, strength, power,
A structured plan of any sort.
right, you're not going to get
Yeah.
out of it what you can. But I think it's cool to always be able to come back to that and then be able to turn the volume back up on CrossFit.
Yeah.
So you're sort of shifting from a focus of application back to a focus of improvement.
Yep.
Right? Like, I'm no longer applying my fitness towards something. I am improving what I am at that thing, I guess.
Yeah. So yeah, in the coming years, watch out.
But
Sean Chua, CrossFit Games,
yeah,
2018, 2019.
I'm still hanging on to your heels, like, able to keep up with some of the numbers that you do. I was talking to Matt Martz yesterday, and I realized that he's officially He's officially better than me at everything.
Yeah.
Except for snatch. I still have him in one thing, but I can't hang on to that for very long. But he was telling me his like power clean is like 255. It's like
He's a strong dude
I know.
now. That is one fitness journey that we have been a part of.
So now as his coach, I need to derail him for my own ego, so I can.
We've created our end.
That's right. But that's what's cool about it.
Yeah.
I mean, CrossFit works, and this is what people say in jiu-jitsu when like a junior belt taps out a more senior belt. They go, jiu-jitsu works, man. Like this works. If I do this combination of things to you, you will like submit.
Yeah.
Like CrossFit works in the same way, right? If you do this combination of exercises at the right intensity, if you follow the program day in and day out with the right consistency and the right focus on stress and nutrition and all the things, like you're going to get in phenomenal shape. You can't avoid it.
Yep.
You can try really hard not to get in good shape, but if you show up, you're gonna be there.
Yep.
There's no doubt about it.
Gonna push you if they see you're being too lazy a few too many days in a row.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you're not present, you're gonna get an email from Katie.
Show up.
It's cool.
I've never gotten that email.
Because you're always there, Sean Chua.
Yeah, always there.
So what else you got?
Nothing.
That's it? Well, cool, man. This was a lot of fun, and hopefully, I try to think of like what I take out of conversations while they're happening, and I really like your approach of getting to 80%, and then like get to 80% in as many things as you can, and then maybe there's something that you want to get to 100% in.
Yeah, then adjust from there, evaluate, and then sometimes you want to push for that 100 like I did in powerlifting, and it's definitely a worthwhile journey. I would do it again.
Cool. All right, man. Well, thanks a lot. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Oh, I have to pee so bad.
Oh man, that was good. That was a lot of fun.
Nice. Thank you. Oh. Too much sitting. No, just
That's right.